Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the second episode of Handball Hits, where we are going to cover everything that has happened in the men's and women's Premier Handball League throughout the course of November. Now, as you can see, once again, I'm joined by the voice of handball, the maestro on the mic. It is, of course, Jack Oliphant. So, Jack, how are you? What an intro that was, by the way.
I was going to say, way to build me up, and it all comes tumbling down as soon as I open my mouth. No, it's a pleasure to be back here. I'm very excited about it. I mean, it's been such a long time, Ian. It's been a week since we've seen each other.
Yes, it has. Of course, we will touch on that as well. Coming up throughout the course of this show, we have highlights from both games that we brought you in November. We've got exclusive interviews with the coaches. We've got Donna Hankinson coming up. We've got Andy Clark. We've got Andy Fleming as well. We've also got Sophie Unsworth as well. There was a controversial moment in the women's game. More on that a little bit later. Now, before we get into things, of course, what we like to do is the news. We haven't got a huge amount to bring you because this is more focused on the men's and women's Premier Handball League. But we must say a big congratulations to this man. That is Ricardo Vasconcelos. Ricardo, I hope I've said your name right. I'm really sorry if I haven't. But congratulations. He's the new head of performance at the England Handball Association. He's replaced Bobby White, who's actually left to pursue a career in top flight football coaching. How is that? How good is that? Ricardo was, of course, part of the national coaching setup and workforce development manager. That's what he was doing before. Now he's actually head of running England Handball's talent pathway. Pretty good stuff indeed. I did try and get Ricardo on. However, I did speak to him via Facebook Messenger. He's in Malta right now, Jack. How nice is that? Doing some coaching. So the man never stops. But we will get him on the show. Ricardo, best of luck. Congratulations on the job as well. Jack, I don't know if you know, but recently we've just had it's not actually based in England, but we have had the European Championships for the women. So we must say big congratulations to Norway. They just won the European Championships there with the EHF. So huge congratulations to Norway. Let's hope it's going to be England in the not too distant future. Right, Jack? Right, come on. We want it to be England, don't we? We certainly do. Right,
it's
now,
ambitious, but I mean, it's possible. It's possible in the future at some point.
It is ambitious, but you've got to start somewhere, haven't you? Right, now let's touch on the Women's Premier Handball League. You see, we're going straight into things this week. We're not going to muck around here. This is your monthly handball hits. We're going to move on to the Women's Premier Handball League. Now, I must say as well, before we do get into the highlights of the game, if you do have a question, you do have a comment, please do leave it below. Wherever you're watching this, we can see your comments. If you're doing it over on Live Sport Now on YouTube as well, there's the live chat. Comment in your live chat. If we get a chance, we can show it on screen, just like we did throughout the course of the games as well. And if you do want to find out, at any point, want to find out more about the England Handball Association, there is a link in the body of this broadcast that takes you straight through to the EHA's website. Also, if you have a question directly for the EHA, social media or the website is probably the best place to put it in. Now, last week, I headed up north. Yes, I dusted off the passport and went north of Watford. I didn't even know there was a north of Watford. I mean, that M6, that just goes on forever, doesn't it? Of course, I'm a southerner. Jack, you're a northerner. You made a short trip across the Pennines, didn't you, from Leeds over to Oldham. Oldham Leisure Centre we headed, and the first game up we broadcast live was North East Manchester Hawks taking on Liverpool. And Jack, you have very kindly put together our highlights. So check this out. Sit back, relax. Here's the highlights of North East Manchester Hawks taking on Liverpool in the Women's Premier Handball League North.
The opening goal of the game, and for Hawks, of course, was scored by Paige Schofield for the right half. Great goal, and you might as well get used to me saying the name. There's a saying in motorsport, you can't win the race on the first corner, but you can lose it. The Liverpool women, unfortunately, lost this game within the first 5 minutes or so, mentally at least. They turned the ball over 3 or 4 times within the first 4 minutes, and Hawks only made them pay consistently. There was a goal in the middle for you eagle-eyed viewers down at the bottom left-hand side, and we'll show you that in a couple of seconds' time. But you can see Liverpool, unfortunately, just didn't seem to be able to get it together, and Hawks were efficient enough to punish them on a regular basis. Liverpool's first goal of the game was an introduction to Marta Tubaka. Plenty more to come from her. The second goal for Liverpool was another important introduction. Alicia from the centre, strong, powerful run. More to come from her as well. They've played together for years, and you can see the understanding between them. Sophie Unsworth offloads it to Becky Barnes, as Liverpool don't help themselves, leaving Emily Maddison far too much space and a good finish to match. The Liverpool heads may have been down, but Tubaka wasn't stopping scoring anytime soon. With a good step to the inside, beating Emily Maddison, she scores from the centre. Now, if we ignore the fact that this is clearly double dribble, it is also a brilliant goal, with Sophie Unsworth picking it up and passing it over the top to Paige Schofield on the fast break. Great hands and a great goal. The first penalty of the game was awarded to Liverpool, with Krista Yakoveva spinning Sophie Unsworth, and then I believe that's Dibton defending in the area. Babette Nage stepped up to take the penalty, but Natalie Pearl was wise to the shot. Good save. The next couple of clips, on the face of it, looked like great centre play, and to be fair, Sophie Unsworth with a great step on Emily Daly provided exactly that. Now, on the face of this again looks like great centre play, but focus on Nage from the left wing here. As she goes towards the point player, Paige Schofield, she actually screens her, which allows Alicia to go through the centre and charge through the space. The first 2 minute suspension of the game came the way of Becky Barnes, as Tubaka went to step her, and Becky provided a high tackle, so she had to go and sit on the naughty step. That didn't stop Manchester Hawks, however, as Paige Schofield stepped off on the right back and provided a great finish into the top left. With Manchester Hawks being a player down, Liverpool knew they had to try and take advantage. They worked the ball well out to the right wing, where a good bounce shot found the top of the goal. Going into defence, however, they went from a 6-0 to their 5-1, a formation we hadn't seen so far in this particular game, and that was to try and force Manchester Hawks into some kind of mistake. Manchester Hawks, however, rode it well. They played out their 2 minutes pretty efficiently, and as you can see, even though they got stuck, all the players kept themselves moving, kept themselves options alive, and actually forced Liverpool almost back into the 6-0. The ball did end up getting turned over, but not before Manchester Hawks pretty much rode out their 2 minutes. Back to their full complement of players, Dibton decided to try and catch the Liverpool defence napping, and she did exactly that from the right wing into the line. If you watched the game live or watched Handball in England for a while, you'll know that Manchester Hawks are relentless in their counter-attacking options, and Paige Schofield typified that brilliantly this game. The impressive turnover rate for Manchester Hawks was due in main thanks to the fact that they were deploying a very aggressive 3-2-1 defence. You can see Sophie Unsworth, as soon as the left back gets the ball, steps up and then goes back. Emily Maddison controlled the line brilliantly. Great communication as well with their left and right backs to decide who was going to be more aggressive at any one time. And that allowed Paige Schofield to really press up high to try and intercept the ball. The wingers are told to play player for player, mark them as closely as possible to make sure they don't get any kind of shots on. And as you can see, Beth Wilbholm from the left-back defence charges up to Tubaka. She makes a sloppy pass back to the centre, and because Schofield has pushed up so high, she can go and do what she does best. When Liverpool did manage to defend successfully against the Manchester Hawks' onslaught, they found Natalie Pearl in goal, Tubaka breaking up the court and finding the goalkeeper in good form. Handball is a very aggressive game. You have to be able to ride the tackles and take the contact. That's exactly what Sophie Unsworth and Beth Wilbholm did here, as they recycled the ball out to the left wing and finished with a goal. It's another Manchester Hawks counter-attack, but this time with a slightly different ending. Jessica Krause was in net for Liverpool and provided a fantastic save, and even though there was a little bit of contact, nothing illegal, so handshakes and good sportsmanship all around. I don't think anybody could argue that the game had slipped away from Liverpool at this point, but Kirsty Yakoveva saw her first penalty get saved, but the rebound ended up at the back of the net. A foul on the half-time buzzer allowed Yakoveva to go for goal. She didn't succeed, unfortunately, leaving the score at 20-8 at half-time. Normally the first action of the half that we show you are goals. However, Hannah Kempster with a first save off Becky Barnes and then off Sarah Carrick really deserved to be here. The first actual goal of the half came courtesy of a Liverpool penalty. They win it from the left wing, and as Nage steps up to take it, slots it past Natalie Pearl. That didn't stop Hannah Kempster from being the star of the show early doors in the second half. A fast break by Hawks saved it once again. If Liverpool have anything good to come of this second half...
Was that it?
I think it was off the bar.
We need VAR.
Well, don't worry, Ian. I've got you covered. As you can see here, it was very close to the line, but not quite. Unlucky, though. Our first goal after nearly 5 minutes came courtesy of another great Sophie Unsworth step. But again, Alicia wasn't going to be beaten in the battle of the centres, and another trademark powerful run saw her score another. A 5-1 defence can be absolutely brilliant, but when the point player goes to sleep, then it can be deadly as Liverpool take advantage. The handball wasn't exactly free-flowing from either team. However, Hawks did manage to battle their way through to score some important goals and keep their commanding lead. You can't switch off in handball even when the play gets slowed down just a touch. A mistake here by the Liverpool defender allows Sarah Carrick to try and get in behind and also secures the penalty. Now, the purpose of this podcast is not to cause controversy, it's not to cause arguments. However, I would like to hear your opinions in the comments below. As Sophie Unsworth rushes out to make the tackle, it is a slightly high tackle, maybe her arms are slightly straight. It's probably a 2-minute suspension as Tubeka goes to step her. However, the referees come and converse and note there's no real reaction from the Liverpool players or the Manchester players, and both players actually get up and shake hands. However, the referees come over and produce a red card, to the shock of quite a lot of the Hawks players and bench, almost stunned into silence, a lot of them. Sophie Unsworth goes off, shakes hands with Tubeka, the player that she supposedly fouled to a red card. Now, we're going to show you a quick replay here. We also do have an interview with Sophie Unsworth coming up. Yeah, Sophie then, from your perspective, talk us through that one, because I couldn't really see a red card in the hobby.
No, I don't think many people could see a red card. Even the Liverpool then were saying it wasn't. I think basically I just went in for the tackle like you do to hit the shoulder. Martha did a good sort of feint and she dropped her shoulder, so my hand just hit her neck. And from their perspective, I just went and pushed her in her neck, which even Martha was saying that it wasn't a red card. So
is there 2 minutes in it for you, maybe, but not a red?
2 minutes maybe, I think. I don't know, it's debatable how we're feeling about the ref in this game, but I won't get too political with it. I don't think anyone agrees that was a red. That was just a mistake on my half. It definitely hit in the neck, but it wasn't an intentional push in the neck to stop her, She just fainted, so it is what it is, though, isn't it? Hopefully we'll still come out with the win in the end.
After the controversy, there is still handball to be played, and Beth Wilbraham, with a fantastic step from the right back, continued the Hawks scoring. Fair play to Liverpool, they didn't give up, and the spirit was typified by Emily Daly scoring from the line here. Hawks still had some tricks up their sleeve though, and as Schofield pings the ball towards Emily Maddison on the line, the Liverpool defence had left her hanging, and the penalty ensues. Sarah Carrick steps up and yet again slots it into the top corner. With this attack, Liverpool found that there's a few openings on the right-hand side of the attack for them. Emily Daly securing the goal this time round. From a Liverpool defensive point of view, though, there are just too many penalties. With Becky Barnes hitting the post there, they couldn't quite pick the ball up, and then they give away the penalty at the same time. Sarah Carrick steps up to try and take yet another and score yet another, but this time Hannah Kempster reads her well. After showing their shortcomings in the first couple of minutes, it's only fair that we show Liverpool's good end to the game. And on the right-hand side of their attack, they dirtly did that. Fantastic exploitation of a lot of space to potentially lazy Hawks defending. Emily Daly was influential, screening and scoring. Liverpool was still defensively frail, though, and although they had a pretty good comeback, they had a 2-minute suspension here and a Hawks goal. Do you think playing a player down would diminish the enthusiasm of Liverpool and Emily Daly? Well, you'd be wrong. Tubeka finds her and scores yet another goal. As Liverpool tried to break up the court to score one last goal, the foul ensued, and therefore on the final whistle, it meant that we had yet another free throw to contend with. Unlike the first half, though, it didn't look like Hawks were too up for defending this one. To be fair, you can often get a ball to the face if you're not careful, and in these situations, you quite often see the attacking team just put the ball down. Tubeka does exactly that. The game finishes 34-23 to Hawks. Our player of the match was Paige Schofield, so here are a few of her highlights.
Do take an early lead in this game.
That looked like a double dribble to me, but clearly not.
Oh, what a throw.
That is an unreal pass, and that's an even better bit of handling there.
I think that is probably goal. Still a long way to go, 8.5 minutes or so on the clock. The ball turns over. NEM looking to play it quick. Back to that number 12 again. Oh my word. No, in the danger zone actually when they come over this way, aren't we? Haven't been hit yet, but things will probably change now. I've said that.
There's no point, Ian.
Turnover, bit of a mistake by Liverpool there. Can Hawks take advantage? You've got a player over on the left.
Oh,
yes,
great
they
hands
do.
again.
Oh my word! Is that
split space for Babette Norris? Oh, as here goes Paige Schofield. I was looking at my notes, and it's another fast break goal.
Yeah, Jack, fantastic stuff there. Now that was Paige Schofield, as we said, player of the match. We're going to touch on that controversial moment in the game shortly, but let's just talk about Paige before we come to that, because it seemed, didn't it, certainly in that first half, every time she got the ball or every time NEM went to attack, she was just in the right place. What was going on? Was it just Liverpool just weren't on the ball in defence, or was Paige that good?
Well, I think that she took advantage of a few things. One of which was I said it in the highlights. The aggressive defence that Hawks were deploying meant that she was always in an advanced position to be able to go on that fast break, and that's definitely intentional from Donna Hankinson to set up in that way, knowing that they had the speed and the fitness of Paige Schofield at the top of the tree as well, top of that sort of defensive line. There are plenty of other players that will be able to do that for Hawks, but clearly not as effective as her. And from the right back as well, as she said in an interview afterwards, I'm not sure if we're going to show the interview or not, that she didn't often play at right back. She was sort of put there today, and she said it was a bit worrying for her, but she tried her best, and I have to say she played pretty damn well as well. All the noise that we heard from Hawks beforehand was the fact that they've lost a couple of key players. One of them has gone out to Denmark, and I think Lydia, who was she played at Leeds Beckett as well with me and Becky Barnes and everything like that, and she's one hell of a player. She used to play right back, I think, so, and line, I think. So yeah, she's got one hell of a shot. It looks like Paige Schofield's just picked up where those guys have left off, and are able to carry that team to the victory.
Yeah, it wasn't just her, was it? I mean, you just mentioned Becky Barnes there. She was a handful throughout the course of the game. In fact, she had her own fan club as well, didn't she, in there? And Sophie Unsworth. Now, Sophie Unsworth was involved in a rather controversial moment, of course. She was sent off in that game. You would have seen it in the highlights. And we heard from her after the sending off. Was it, Jack? Was it? Because you tell me.
Well, I think at the time you asked me to explain what just happened. And to be honest, it was one of those moments where I couldn't entirely tell you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there was definitely a foul in there. I think Tebeka, I think it was, playing at the left back now in this half, came to attack it. She's got a fantastic step. She's very powerful. She does go slightly lower to try and change direction, but not so low that you think it's any way unfair. Unsworth obviously rushed out a little bit. And there was contact, and potentially there was contact with the neck. That's what we heard Sophie admit. But there was no way that it was intentional. The arms weren't straight. And as Sophie said, even the Liverpool players and their bench sort of looked at that and thought, bit suspect for me. And as I said, a red card, you pretty much have to be assaulting someone or tackling them from behind or something very obvious. Like when you see a red card offence, you know instantly that it's a red card sort of thing. Everything else is just sort of given as a 2-minute suspension. So for me, it was a 2-minute suspension for Sophie. It sounds like she agreed. I don't think Donna completely agreed even with that, but that's sort of no surprise from a coaching perspective. An interesting decision, as I said in the highlights. We're not here to cause controversy or question the referees, but these things do have to be brought up.
Yeah, I did mention VAR in that, and thank you for clearing it out for me. It's not 1966, and it wasn't over the line.
No.
Now, as we spoke about the red card there, yes, somebody who really didn't think it was a red card was Donna Hankinson, the NEM Hawks coach. You caught up with her after the game. Let's hear what she had to say.
On a quick chat.
Red card.
We've already spoken about the red card. Sophie came and did a nice interview. That was as politically as correct as she could probably do.
If it was a red card, I'm a supermodel, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, I will swiftly move. I think that's all the opinion we probably get for that one. Yeah. In terms of the game, though, I mean, you had a game plan that was obvious, and it was played to perfection in that first half.
First half, I think that's probably, considering what I was saying before about the players we've lost from last season, I think that's possibly the best we've played for a long time. I thought Paige playing at right back, which isn't her position, was outstanding in the first half. And just the pace, I think we played real nice, kept a nice pace in the game. Defensively in the first half, not so much the second, we were strong. And considering really we don't play with fast break passes out from the goalkeeper, I think second wave we were strong. And I think we're still going to be, if we can keep everybody fit, everybody not getting red cards, not that has hurt, but you get my drift. I think we can challenge a lot of teams again this season. Really, really pleased with the performance from all.
Yeah, I just cut that short there. It does go on the interview, and if you do want to see it, do head over to the England Handball Association YouTube channel, where that game, you can go back and watch it at any time. But she was very pleased with the performance there, Jack. She said, despite the sending off.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, in the first half, they were ruthless, weren't they? They managed to get the lead. I mean, yeah, Liverpool had a few mistakes, but Hawks not only need to capitalise on those mistakes, they need to be able to run away and control the game themselves as well. Second half, she didn't mention much about the second half, and I can understand why. It was I wouldn't say poor from the Hawks, but it was definitely a step down from where they started the game. But yeah, very, very impressive. Their game plan was executed to perfection, like I said in the interview, and I can understand why Donna was so happy.
Yeah, you often see it, don't you? I mean, Liverpool did come out; they were vastly improved in that second half. I think was it 20 points to 8 in the first half, and then of course they went on to score 23 in total throughout the game. Hawks only added 14 to their total. Is that just because the game was pretty much won at half-time?
Yeah, I think maybe at half-time we saw the Hawks were sort of sitting around. Maybe they sort of, the adrenaline had come down. They realised that, the game is pretty much done. I think everybody had realised the game was pretty much done. And even Liverpool, they did do well in the second half. But you could see at the end they were still fast-breaking on Hawks because they wanted to almost salvage some kind of positives from the game. I think you even mentioned it in the commentary that I sort of cut out and put my own voice over. That the fact that the players want to take some kind of positives to move on to the next game. Liverpool have started the season really well. They had a 100% record as they went into the game from 2 wins from 2 games. And they want to be able to take something from the loss. And the fact that they did finish pretty strong, especially on that right-hand side of their attack. I don't know whether I think the Hawks' defence went a bit to sleep, to be honest, in the last 10 minutes. But Liverpool saw that. And instead of just sort of moving the ball around for the sake of moving the ball around, they saw that and they tried to exploit it to score as many points as possible. And I know we gave the player of the match to Paige Schofield, but those last sort of 15 minutes, Emily Daly on the Liverpool line was exceptional. Her screening, you don't really see that if you're with the untrained eye sort of thing, but her screening to create that space on the left-hand side of the Hawks defence was exceptional. And she scored a hatful of goals as well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to us, actually, wasn't it? Because we turned up expecting it to be perhaps a little bit closer. Liverpool were top going into the game. NEM Hawks was second, only because Hawks had actually played a game less. Were you a bit surprised at the scoreline?
I was a bit, but then we actually saw on the YouTube chat, didn't we, as they were coming in, that Liverpool did have a fair few players that were missing, Laura Black and Amy Hardwick, who, as I mentioned in the commentary, are 2 very influential players. I mean, Laura Black is an exceptional backcourt player in the women's game. She's very fast, very direct, very powerful, and very experienced. And Amy Hardwick has a very sort of smart mind for handball. I haven't seen her play for a very long time, but the fact that she coaches at the GB under-19s level and she's been coaching at a high level for a long time, I think got a master's in sports coaching and everything like that. Very switched on, very knowledgeable about the game. They're 2 players that you're always going to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, after the game, we've heard from Donna. I think it's only fair we hear from Andy Fleming, the Liverpool coach. Let's hear what he had to say after the game.
Better second half for you than the first half, let's put it that way.
Yeah, we didn't start very well at all in the first half. Don't know why, but yeah, better second half. It was our challenge at half time to come out and show what we are about. We never really play like that in the first half, so it was more of what we are in the second half. So only losing by 1 goal, very disappointing with the game overall, but a better second half.
What was the cause of that first half, do you think? Because obviously there was a little bit of a confidence shaker. I think the first 3 minutes we saw 4 technical turnovers. They were just drop balls and everything like that. Could you put that down to anything, or is it just unlucky?
I think a few of the girls, a lot of the time now, we don't train with tack in our hall. So I don't know whether the girls were getting used to using tack again. But as you say, out of the first 6 attacks, we turned the ball over in 4 of them. And then just individually in the defence, we just didn't play as a unit in the defence. But apart from that, really calm. We are missing a few plays today, so we were a bit under strength. So but just everyone admitted at half time, which was good, that we could have done better.
I was going to say, I think a few of those players were actually watching the live stream. I think Laura Black commented on it and everything like that. Was that a bit of, did you know that was sort of always going to be the case for this game, or was it a bit of late dropouts or anything like that? Was that sort of affected the plan and training leading up to it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we knew we were going to be a bit short, but and Hawks are a really good team, and they played together for a long time, and I knew it was going to be a good team. But what I wanted to do was, we all wanted to give them a game. I don't think we did that in the first half, but we definitely did in the second half.
Yeah, he touched on it there, didn't he? Very honest from Andy Fleming. Weren't really it in the first half, but then did start to compete in the second half. Should we take a little look, Jack, at the rest of the results across November for the Women's Premier Handball League? Let's start in the north because that's where we were. Let's just take a little look at the games. Liverpool, of course, playing twice. They played earlier in the month against Birmingham, winning that one 22-16. Nottingham played against Trafford earlier in the month as well. They're winning that one 30-25. Then, of course, the game we've just been showing you there, NEM Hawks 34, Liverpool 23. Birmingham are back in action this time against Nottingham. Birmingham losing that one 30 points to 40, and Trafford in action against Loughborough. And Loughborough winning that one 38-31. If we head over to the Women's South, here's your November results. So Northampton 29, the Arctic Falcons 23. Arctic Falcons played twice in November, as you can see. Sadly for them, losing both games, losing to the West London Eagles there by 17-36. Olympia 20, Cambridge 15, London GD 22. Northampton 15. Let's just take a little look at the league's tables, shall we? This is how they line up in the North League. It is Liverpool top, but by a point because they've still played that game more than NEM Hawks. So just talk us through the point system, actually, Jack. So you get a point just for turning up, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's slightly different to football where in handball you get 3 points for a win, you get 2 points for a draw, and you get 1 point for a loss. So you score a point, as you say, basically for turning up. That is why we see Liverpool still at the top of the tree and Hawks only in second place.
Yes, there you go. So Liverpool top of the tree at the minute. NEM Hawks in second with that game in hand, of course. So Nottingham in third, 2 wins, 2 defeats so far. Then we've got Loughborough H. That is just Loughborough. Just a text. The font size. In fourth, played 3, 1-2, lost 1. Birmingham in fifth place. They've played 4, 1-1. Lost 3, and Trafford propping up the table, 4 games, 4 defeats so far. In the Women's South, here we go. It is very tight indeed, and of course, heavy London contingent there. As you can see, Olympia top of the table, 3 games, 3 wins. West London Eagles, 2 wins and a draw. Of course, we were present for that draw against London GD, weren't we? Northampton in third place, 4 games played, 2 wins, 2 defeats. London GD, they've only played twice so far in the campaign. They've won 1, drawn 1. Of course, that draw against West London Eagles that we broadcast live back in October. Cambridge in fifth, 3 games, 3 defeats, and Arctic Falcons as well, 3 games, 3 defeats. So that's how things look in the Women's Premier Handball League. I don't know about you, Joe. I think it's time to turn our attention to the Men's Premier Handball League. And once again, in fact, we did it all in the same day. What am I saying? I didn't make 2 trips up to Oldham. It's a long old way. But of course, we brought the NEM Hawks against Liverpool, this time in the Men's Premier Handball League. And Jack has very kindly put together the highlights once again. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the highlights of North East Manchester Hawks against Liverpool in the Men's Premier League.
Before we get started, it's worth noting that Ryan Thomas, within the first minute of the game, took what looked like an innocuous tackle that unfortunately dislocated his shoulder. He had it before in January. It took him 6 months to get back to recovery. We're here hoping that you get better a little bit quicker this time, Ryan. After the delay for Ryan Thomas's shoulder injury, we did see another Ryan get on the score sheet. He scored the first for Manchester Hawks and, of course, the first for the game as well, slotting a jump shot from the centre past Jack Booth. Liverpool's first goal came at the hands of Adam Boggiano. After conceding 2 early on in the game, Liverpool showed good intent down this right-hand side, which is an area of the court that they would actually find a lot of joy from. Adam Boggiano, with plenty of space, slots it on the near post. From that point, Liverpool actually went 4-2 up. However, Hawks, initiating their trigger movements of Ryan Goodwin and James Higgins, managed to get the ball all the way to the left wing, and Patrick Maja scored his first. The game was played in good spirits, but it was played with incidents and penalties. The first 2 minutes here of the game was given to Daxas as he took down Cordona in the centre of the court with a high tackle. He ends up taking the walk of shame as Hawks managed to charge up their attack using a similar style trigger movement that we saw before. The result is exactly the same as well. Out to the wing, and Patrick Maja scored. It wasn't until 9 minutes into the game where we saw Manchester Hawks finally provide their trademark fast break attack. It wasn't the cleanest in the world, but it was damn effective. Good goal for the right wing. Even though they hadn't scored for a full 5 minutes, Liverpool Handball Club actually managed to gain some momentum by having some good defence. Now, one of the reasons why we actually chose this clip is 1, the good Liverpool defence, and 2, Ryan Goodwin, we see that is definitely a charging foul. The impressive thing is, though, the Liverpool player getting back up, and he's actually the one of 3 defenders who actually makes the tackle on Cardona in the end. Although the Liverpool defence was spirited and very good, sometimes there's no making up for individual brilliance, and for the right wing, that's exactly what we saw. He might be out here charging against defenders at line, but Ryan Goodwin is definitely one of the most experienced and flair-driven players on the Hawks team. A great pass out to Patrick Maja, who with an equally great finish. As if we hadn't seen enough of Patrick Maja so far in this highlights reel, he finished off what was the quintessential North East Manchester Hawks counter-attack from the left wing all the way to the right wing. No problem with the finish. With the score 10-7 to Hawks, Liverpool could be accused of trying a little bit too hard here as they force the ball trying to get through the Hawks defence. It gets launched up the court to the left winger Patrick Maja, and Cameron Nicol takes the player down. That caused a 2-minute suspension, and it's not the first that you'll see in this clip. About 20 seconds later as well, Hawks try and initiate a fairly familiar trigger movement. It gets the ball all the way to the right wing as Joby Lloyd tries to rush across and gets himself a 2-minute suspension to join his teammate on the bench. Down to 4 players, Ryan Goodwin was taking the eventual penalty. Jack Booth got the better of him. A timeout was called immediately after that penalty by Manchester Hawks to try and take advantage of the fact that Liverpool were down to 4. You can see the right winger trying to almost goal hang at the other end of the court whilst also going back to aid in defence. The ball eventually gets broken down by a right wing shot by Adam Boggiano. It doesn't go in, but Jared can't get the ball quick enough to offload. Having ridden out their double 2-minute suspension, Liverpool were hoping to deploy the fact that they're back to their full complement by getting back to their defensive best. They managed to break up the court after turning the ball over, with Adam Boggiano having all the space on the right-hand side of the court and slots it at the near post of the Manchester Hawks goalkeeper, who gets it straight back to the centre, and Hawks do go on the counter-attack, but this time it is to no avail, the right leg of Jack Booth saving them. I had just mentioned that Liverpool were hoping to get back to their defensive best. Well, Hawks were throwing everything at them, and Liverpool managed to have all the answers in this particular clip. However, the next one shows that there's a little bit of a fine line between good defence and a little bit of over-enthusiasm. Good defence again to start with, but as the ball gets played out to Ryan Goodwin, who goes up for the fake, bounces it and gives it to Cardona. Defending in the area, gives away the penalty. Steph Whaley steps up, but again, it was Jack Booth comes out on top. With Liverpool trying to force the play, again the score's still at 11-9, the Manchester Hawks turn the ball over, and Ryan Goodwin almost scores the goal of the game, stepping Cameron Nicol not once but twice, and then having the audacity to try and spin it into that far post. It ends up hitting the post, however, and Jack Booth sees the opportunity, sends the ball up the wing, and with a flailing Joan Amelia on the floor, they manage to slot it home. The highlights so far have been fairly Liverpool heavy in a positive way, but Manchester Hawks did always keep the lead, and it's through simple play like this, out to Carl Barnes and a nice right wing shot. The final goal on the half, though, was a Liverpool goal, with Adam Boggiano going from the right wing into line, Cameron Nicol finding him. It's a good finish. First time I've ever seen Adam Boggiano score from the line. It's a good goal as well. The score was 15-12 at half-time. One of the first goals that we saw in the second half came courtesy of Cardona yet again, as Hawks who struck first to make it 17-13. The first Liverpool goal after the break came courtesy of the left wing, and 6.5 minutes in, Bradders in the Hawks net won't want to be seeing that one again. The second half wasn't filled with exactly vintage handball, but you could see Cardona here at the left back for Hawks just outmuscling his opponent to score those crucial goals. With the score at 19-13 to Hawks, we saw a dry spell for about 5 minutes for both teams until this moment from the centre of Liverpool to score a goal. Even though we did have a 5-minute dry spell, handball is still one of the quickest sports in the world, exampled by this clip here as well. Adam Boggiano takes 4 steps and causes a travel on his own fast break. Bradders pings the ball over to Charlie Fletcher, who finds the left wing, and within about 5 seconds, the ball is in the back of the Liverpool goal. 15 minutes into the second half, Liverpool finally start to find their feet. This penalty is the catalyst for good things to come. Now, I love Jamal, but you should probably look away for the next 2 clips. This first long pass created an unforced error, which allowed Liverpool to break up to the other end with Joby Lloyd from that right wing position to bounce it underneath Bradders' feet. Followed pretty much instantly as well by a pass to Stefan Whaley's feet as well, which allowed, again, Joby Lloyd from that right wing to, again, stick it under Bradders' left foot. After a spell that saw Hawks feel like they were losing control slightly, they brought it back to simple handball, moved the ball out to the left wing and secured a vital goal. That wasn't the end of Liverpool's momentum, however, and although they forced the play here and it broke through Hawks to get up the other end, it was Jack Booth they found in the Liverpool net. So often the saviour of Liverpool this game. He recycles the ball slowly, but as they break up the other end, Leyland finds himself with plenty of space on that left wing and slots it in the near post. That makes it 22-18 to Hawks. With it being now a 4-goal game and only 12 minutes to go, Charlie Fletcher dropping the ball on the line is the last thing Hawks needed. Adam Boggiano breaks up the other end and reduces the deficit to 3. Hawks are really doing their best to try and allow Liverpool with a glimpse of hope here, giving away a penalty, and that will be the first of 2 within a minute. However, Bradders didn't feel like getting beaten this time, and he finally found some form with a big right foot and a big bellow as well after that save. As I said, within the minute, Cameron Nichols who manages to get another penalty for Liverpool. Bradders yet again stepping up to the plate and managing to make a big save at an important time. Crucially, after 2 missed penalties for Liverpool, Charlie Fletcher stepped up and scored an important one for Hawks. There's an argument to be said that this is one of the team goals of the entire game. I personally think it looks like they forced it and got away with it, but you make your mind up in the comments below. This is my personal goal of the day, a fantastic pass by Charlie Fletcher over to Fraser Moore, who's perfectly placed with good hands to slot the ball home. But let us know what your goal of the day is in the comments below. It was a 5-goal game with 5 minutes to go. As Liverpool break up the other end, they were given a whiff of hope as North East Manchester Hawks get a 2-minute suspension and give away a penalty to Liverpool. However, Liverpool would have probably dashed that hopes as they remembered Bradders was in net. A big right foot denies them from the spot. Charlie Fletcher, who is a significant portion of our highlights today, shows his composure in attack to score his final goal of the game. Hawks ended up with a penalty right at the end of the game, but Charlie Fletcher wasn't to lob Jack Booth, who tried to go for the spectacular right on the game buzzer. The game finished 28-21. Our player of the match was Jack Booth in the Liverpool goal, so we thought it only fair to show you some of his best saves.
We'll come back to that because Hawks on the attack.
Oh, great save!
Oh, my word.
Making the tackle properly, and a good save by Jack Booth. Steps up, and Jack Booth saves again! And they were trying to fair view them.
You can see them. We're going to show them at half-time. We have had a few questions come in, so we'll answer if it's going to be set in stone yet. So we don't want to announce the games, and it turns out we can't do those games. We've got to do different. So still no.
There's Hawks that are sort of feel like they're forcing it and they need to get themselves back on track, and Liverpool who feel like they've got some momentum, and that's going to be a big reason why they feel like they've got the ascendancy now. And you'd almost tries to be far too cheeky as Jack Booth goes for the goal on the buzzer, and Alex Bradley was worried there.
Yeah, you got to get out of bed early to catch Jack Booth out, haven't you? One thing I've noticed, Jack, since we've been doing the handball is that the goalkeepers often win player of the match, don't they? We certainly had it last month. We had it earlier in the year when we were broadcasting the game. I know it's Paige Schofield in the women's game. It just goes to highlight the importance of the goalkeeper position, perhaps more than other sports. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think in terms of handball, I think it's harder to be a good goalkeeper than it is harder to be good at any other position on the court. To be honest, from my perspective, one, you have to be brave enough and stupid enough to go in goal to start with. And in school, it's a terrifying prospect. I mean, in the Champions League, all right, maybe not in England, but the Champions League, they can throw it up to 100 kilometers an hour. And when you're sort of trying to face someone who can, do that within about 3 meters of you is ridiculous, really. And the techniques, it looks like they're just flailing their arms about, flailing their legs about, just trying to get in the way. But actually, it's really in-depth technique. And Bobby White, who you mentioned actually before in regards to he left England handball recently. And I think one of the reasons why he's left is he's gone to pursue a professional career in professional football as a goalkeeper coach. And he was GB 2012's Olympic goalkeeper. So, I mean, he's probably quite a good person to try and get on the podcast at some point. But yeah, goalkeeping is an extremely specific skill set, and it's very, very hard and brave to do.
Yeah, it can certainly change a game. And in fact, it pretty much almost just won the game for NEM Hawks with Bradders in goal, of course.
Yeah.
We saw it getting late on. There was only about 15 minutes to go. Liverpool was 6 down. And I think I literally just said, just before they went on their spree, it's done. Hawks are going to win this now. So do they just take the foot off the gas? Liverpool then pulled it back with 9 minutes to go. There was only 3 in it. And of course, Liverpool had that penalty. And Bradders then saved it. And then it stopped. And then Hawks got back into the lead and ended up going on to win it 28-21. But it was a tight game, wasn't it?
It absolutely was, yeah. And I think it sort of ran a similar course to the women's in the fact that the first half, the quality of the handball was a lot better, especially from Hawks. Hawks dropped off in the second half. And also the standard of handball dropped off in the second half as well for both teams. But Liverpool tried to capitalise on that. And you're right, that period where they had 2 penalties within a minute saved by Bradders. And then they went at the other end, and I think a minute and a half later, Charlie Fletcher got a penalty and managed to score it past Liverpool. That sort of momentum shift, that sort of killed off the vibes from Liverpool. And I think I said it during the commentary. I don't think they'll take it as an insult. They came off afterwards with big smiles on their faces and everything like that. But they were very much almost running on adrenaline and running on the occasion to try and get them into the game. You could see that because every so often that dropped a bit. And that was when Hawks managed to pull 3, 4, 5 goals. And then all of a sudden there would be a big save by Jack Booth or something along those lines. And they'd pick themselves up again and they'd be able to go level, if not win that period. So, yeah, it's interesting how the psychology of sport works.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's hear from Donna again, shall we, the NEM Hawks men's coach this time, see what she had to say after the game.
Donna, in the end, scoreboard looked like a convincing result for Manchester Hawks there, but there must have been periods that you probably thought this could slip away a little bit.
No, not really. I didn't think we were going to lose, but the performance was quite possibly the worst attacking performance I think we've played, and it's hard to play defensively against a team that do unusual things, and we struggled today. I think we struggled with focus. I think there was a mindset where the guys were turning up and thinking, it's hard to think, because when we were playing against the Southern teams last season, we knew virtually every game was going to be difficult. And to be fair, that's our second game of the season and it's towards the end of November, so we've got no competitive momentum. So it's almost nice to get a game in before we play Nottingham in 2 weeks' time. But I think that's the compromise you have to make for us not doing the travelling is...
It's the frequency of games, because Liverpool, of course, have already played a cup game as well as their game advantage over you in the league. So was that something that you were aware of? You sort of thought that was going to come into play when you were sort of making the team talks at the beginning and everything like that?
Yeah, because, like I say, we haven't really played a competitive match for weeks and weeks and weeks, where I knew they were coming off the back of 2 or 3 fixtures in the last few weeks. And it does, regardless of the difference in technical ability, it does make a difference. It makes a massive difference, because I know towards the end of last season we had a good run of games that led up to the game we played against GD. So it does make a huge difference. And I was...
Yeah, just cut that short there again. Again, if you do want to go back and hear the whole interview, it is across the EHA's YouTube channel and Facebook and Twitter feed, wherever you're watching this right now. She mentioned they're a little bit rusty early in the season, of course. She didn't want to say it, but she was saying I think they probably turned up expecting for a bigger margin of victory. And no disrespect to Liverpool, and this, please, if you're watching from Liverpool, this isn't meant to be disrespectful. We thought it would be the other way round, didn't we? We thought the women's game would be tighter and the men's game would be perhaps a bit of an easier win for Hawks, but it wasn't the case.
No, I think that's not unfair to say. I think Donna was quite careful. She caught herself a couple of times thinking, basically not wanting to say that the players came in complacent, thinking they'd already won before we'd even thrown off. And that can happen, I think. To be fair, I think we saw that in the football the other day with England versus USA. I think the England team looked like they were already won before they'd even kicked off, and USA were the other way round. And
that just proves, doesn't it? That just proves we didn't record this
No, exactly.
Well
But yeah, so it's interesting to hear Donna talk about that. But she's absolutely right in terms of the frequency of games and the intensity of games. And it's actually something when we went down to London to cover the West London Eagles versus London GD, they had similar concerns as well. They they found it unfortunate that they had to play that particular fixture so early in the season before they'd really warmed up. And they actually wanted that towards the end because that's when they were trying to almost use before Christmas as pre-season against some of the easier teams. Obviously, Liverpool proved there is no easy games, like Donna said. But they tried to charge themselves up to those ultra-competitive games to be at their best right at the end of the season.
Well, it is the Premier League for a reason. Should we hear from Andy Clark as well, the Liverpool coach, only fair as well? Let's get his thoughts on the game.
So the players have already... Oh, now we're getting signalled over. Thank you very much. Cheers, Jamie. I'm going to have a chat to Andy Clark first of all, though, before we have a chat to our player of the match. And Andy, I'll tell you what, there was probably a point in that match where you thought, this is a potential big scalp that we can claim.
Yeah, there was a point in the second half where we thought that could have been the case, and we certainly thought that the first half we were quite happy with how it finished up. Just wasn't meant to be on our day. But I think we've had a chat then, and we are really proud of ourselves and where we've come from, certainly from our last game, and playing like that against the Premier League champions. We've got to be happy.
I was going to say, looking at that performance, is there sort of a bit of lust of why couldn't we play like that against the likes of Loughborough? So no offence to Loughborough, but less of a big scalp to claim.
Yeah, no disrespect to Loughborough, they're a fantastic institution and a great team with really fantastic setup. It is a bit of a different kettle of fish playing against the Premier League champions. Yeah, look at it. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating that we have games like that and then have games like this. But that's sport for you, and we'll come back stronger.
Yeah, so then they'll come back stronger, and it's like the Premier League in football, isn't it? You know, if you're Bournemouth and you play Man City, it's just how it goes. It is worth noting, of course, NEM Hawks are defending champions for both the men's and women's Premier League as well. So big congratulations to them. But all in all, quite proud, I think, really there, Jack.
Yeah, I think Andy and the rest of the Liverpool players all knew what they were getting themselves into. Like we said, it's not unfair to see them as not the favourites for that particular game. They were, I believe, in the second division last year. They weren't playing in the National Premier League, as it was probably known last year, against the Southern teams and everything like that. So they're one of the teams that's actually seen this sort of merging of the Premier League North as a bit in an advantage, because they're getting to play teams that maybe they wouldn't have gotten to play otherwise, like Hawks, and push themselves and clearly show that they can press the game to them as well. They were at the very top of the sort of Northern Division, Second Division, or whatever you want to call it, last year. So they clearly were one of the favourites to go up into the Premier League. So it's not a massive surprise that they can take the game to these other clubs. But it's always a bit of a learning curve when you're the newly promoted team.
I think it's worth noting, actually, for anybody who's not overly familiar with the setup of the Men's and Women's Premier Handball League. It has changed since last season. Last season, it was just men's, women's, wasn't it? Now, we're split into regions. So you have the Men's Premier Handball League North, the Men's Premier Handball League South, and likewise for the women too. Basically for geography purposes, isn't it? It makes a lot more sense for teams in Manchester not to have to travel into central London and vice versa, really, from a cost point of view. It makes sense for the teams. Let's just have a little look, shall we, at the results throughout the course of November. Not a huge amount of games, actually, in the Men's North, but as you can see, Liverpool playing twice. They did get a win in November, of course, beating Birmingham there 28-22. Then again, we've just been broadcasting for you, NEM Hawks, 28, Liverpool 21, confirmation of that. Birmingham again played, and sadly for them, lost twice in November, 20 points to Nottingham's 40. Let's make our way down south, shall we, at the Men's Southern Premier League and have a look at the results. A few more games here. Cambridge 20, London GD 43. So a comfortable win there for GD. Chelsea 28, Carshalton Titans 27. What a game that was, by the way, Jack. Look at that, just one goal in it. Olympia 30, Cambridge 22, London GD 31, Chelsea 17. So let's have a little look at what that's done for the table as we approach the end of November. Nottingham leading the way at the minute. 3 games played, 3 wins. NEM Hawks 2 games played, 2 wins. So got that game in hand there. Birmingham have played 4, 1-1, lost 3. Liverpool played 3, 1-1, lost 2. And Manchester have played 2. And sadly for them, they've lost 2. Let's back down south, have a look at the men's Premier South table. London GD topping that one. 4 games, 4 wins, going very nicely indeed. But of course, Olympia nipping at the heels as well with a game in hand. Played 3, won 3. What a game, pair of games that's going to be, by the way. London GD, Olympia, that's going to be worth tuning in for. Chelsea have played 4. They've won 2, lost 2. West London Eagles there have only played 2 this season. They've won 1 and lost 1. Cambridge have played 4, lost all 4. And Carshalton Titans have played 3 and lost all 3 so far. Right, Jack, I have some breaking news for you. I can tell you what games are coming up in December live for you. Now, we are back with the Southern Premier League. As you can tell, we're alternating leagues. So we've just been up north in November. So we're coming back down my way, back down south, and we are heading to Cambridge in the Women's Premier Handball League. Check this out. It is going to be Cambridge against Arctic Falcons on Saturday, the 3rd of December. And you've probably guessed it, we're staying in Cambridge on the very same day in the Men's Premier Handball League South as Cambridge take on Carshalton Titans. You can watch it all right here, wherever you're watching this broadcast. Make sure you tune in. Best places to watch it are the England Handball Association YouTube channel or Live Sport Now on YouTube as well. And if you comment in that chat section, in the live chat, we will show your comments on screen, just so long as you keep them clean.
Very important.
Please do. Very important. Please do get involved as well. We had amazing engagement last week for the NEM Hawks and Liverpool game as well. That was really, really great to see. Jack, have you enjoyed the month?
Absolutely, yeah. No, the handball was cracking. I enjoyed doing the editing for the highlights as well. Actually, it made me watch them back a few times through in the end, and saw bits that I didn't see before. So hopefully, everybody else enjoyed not only the live broadcasts back on last weekend, but also hopefully the handball hits as well. But it's not that long until we're back up. I think it's next weekend, isn't it, that we're back? It's
this coming Saturday. So there you go. It's 3 weeks wall-to-wall handball. Last week we were in Manchester. This week we're at home. Next week we're in Cambridge. But it's 3 weeks of wall-to-wall live handball. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. Just a quick reminder as well, if you do want to find out more about the England Handball Association or how you can get involved or join in a team, the England Handball Association website is the place to go. It's running across the bottom, as you can see, or there's a link in the body of this broadcast. Take you straight through to the website. You don't even have to type it out. How nice is that of us? Jack, I'm going to love you and leave you because I know you're a popular guy. You've got parties to go to. You've got all sorts of stuff to do. So I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much for joining us, Jack, and to everybody watching for one final time. This is Handball. Have a safe evening.